everybody. It's Kate Quinn. It's Sunday and it's time for our Facebook Live. So if you're out there, can you do me a favor? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me just fine, and let me know if your picture is good. And I'll just make a quick adjustment because when I put this on here, it just does its own little thing. And I'll get it all secured for you. All right. Hi, Anne. Hi, Di Warner. Hi, Susan. So let me go ahead and give just a moment for a couple of people to get on. And my production manager is helping me again, as usual. So he's here today as well. And he says hello.
Hello.
So, okay, sound's looking good. Okay, and I think our camera, has a good view as well. We're using that black fabric, and I had a lot of people who were really happy with this rainbow thread. So I decided I was going to go ahead and use the rainbow thread again because it shows up so well. So today, what we are focusing on is we're going to be showing you some unique ways to use the crosshair square. And I have a bunch of them. I'm just going to stick them up here real quickly. There are really a bunch of them. So right there, just the regular 8-point crosshair square. And this is the small one. Here, let me lift this up so you can get a good view. So this one is 8.5 inches, and these little frames right here, that's your added quarter. And you can see it's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are really useful if you're marking a specific size block. You can align these reference lines on it, and that will help you center the middle dot there, which is where the design would be centered. So let me just show you some of the other ones real quick. So the next one is the 6-point, and that basically has like 30 and 60 degree angles on it depending on how you use it. So you can see that that has a lot different markings on it as far as the slides. It's not going to go to a corner like that 45 degree angle would. So the 8-point is perfect if you want 90 or 45 degree angle markings. This is going to be 60 or 30 degrees depending on how big of an opening that you're using. It does still have the same markings here, and you can see that there's your 8, and then you have the quarter all the way around. Okay, so the next one I have is pretty big. Let's see if we can fit it under there. I need that one, baby. Can you hold that one? Thank you. Hi, Cedar Falls, Iowa, Paul Bailey and Pat Kozlowski from Maryland. I hope I said your name right. Okay, so let's look at this one. So you can see that this is kind of like a star almost in terms of how it looks. This is the 5-point crosshair square, and you can see this is the 12.5, and it's huge. I love it. So let's start there. People ask me all the time, well, which one should I buy? I believe that you should buy whatever fits your needs, but within that, the big one is much easier to mark a larger area and not have to extend the lines. So if you typically do larger blocks, I highly recommend getting the largest one that you can afford. And then if you have, if you travel a lot, if you go to your friend's house, if you're taking your crosshair square with you, the smaller 8.5 inch ones are so much easier to protect. So if you're sticking it in your bag, then I recommend maybe getting the smaller one. And I'll tell the honest truth, you saw, I'm not lying, I have both because they are different. And if I can get away with the smaller one, it's a little bit more convenient, it's a little bit more portable. But a lot of times if I'm doing something large, I really need the larger one. So those are available on Sew Steady or from any of our Sew Steady retailers. And Leonie West has an amazing book, which is called, Getting to Know the Crosshair Square. It has a lot of options for how you can use the different crosshair squares and create amazing designs with them. So if you wanted to find that out, you can just go to the website, sewsteady.com, and you can type in Leonie West, crosshair, and book, and that book will come up for you. So that's pretty easy to find. So beyond the fact that we are using our crosshairs, we are using the Fun and Fancy collection. So Pat, in that box right there on the floor is a Fun and Fancy collection. Can you just grab one so we can show people? So here's a couple of the templates right here. This is the inside of the oval. We're going to be using that. This is the Circles on Quilts, number 21. And let me grab one more. So, and right here is the oval. So these are the pieces of the collection, just so everybody can look at them really quick. And I'll show our packaging really quickly. So this is what you'd be looking for, you know, in order to purchase that. So this is the Path to Rulerwork Quilting, which is my book. And then the template collection packaging is going to look like that. Let's see if we can get out a little bit so you can see better. So right there, that's what you're looking for. So these are the 5-piece set. It's Westalee rulers, so I want to make sure I always give credit to our amazing designer, Leonie West. I don't want anybody thinking that the templates are my design, but I did use them in order to write the book because I think that these are just some of my favorites and they're amazing. So let's go ahead and get started with the sewing part, right? That's my favorite part. So I have a little sample of what we're going to be making. It's not highly visible, but it was kind of my practice piece, but we're going to be doing it on the black. So you'll be able to see a lot better. So let's see if we can get you out a little bit more. So can you see that? Let me tip it up just a little bit. We're going to be making that. And we're going to be talking about how you can make your own and have just a lot of options for how you can play with any template, not just the ones in this collection, but pretty much anyone, and how you can use the crosshair squares to do that. All right, so I've already marked mine, so I'm going to flip this over. I just needed that plain background so we weren't getting too busy once we were looking at those crosshairs. All right, and I know somebody's going to ask me this because I always get asked this. Do I have to mark this stitching area? No, I don't. Hi, Miss Betty. I'm glad you're going to get yours tomorrow. That's exciting. This right here is the Circles on Quilts spinning wheel number 21. So let me grab it and we'll start with that one. Oh, it's hiding. Okay, and you guys know me already. I've been showing you ways to use it, not only with the pin. Obviously, the pin is great and it works really well, but today we're going to focus on the crosshair, and so we're going to show you a unique, innovative way that you can use it. So the reason that this is drawn on here with my stitching line discs, so let me grab those. I used these awesome little circles, and I used the one that fits my marking tool. So the marking tool that I'm going to use today is the Font and Porter. This is ceramic chalk white pencil with a little eraser here. So this is what I'm using. Okay. And I use the one that fits best. So let me just open these up really quick so you can see that they're different sizes. So you can see how big that hole is right there. See if we can get you up top just a little bit more so you can get a little top-down view. There, see, that's just a little bit better, I think. See how those holes are all different sizes right in there? Well, what's really important with those different sizes is if you're using different size marking tools, you want to find the one that is going to fit best. So this is pretty thin. If I put it in this big one, see how it just wiggles around and it doesn't actually follow the pen, the marking tool? But maybe this one is so tiny that if I stick it in there, it probably won't even write because it won't go down far enough. So maybe this one is perfect. So I'll just like draw a little line on here. You can see how it will work. So this is probably the best size because this will fit in there and the marking tool will come with me pretty reasonably. So these are a really inexpensive little tool, but they are gold as far as I'm concerned. Because I always want to play with my designs and I want to see how they can work before I put them onto my quilt. And that's what I've done here. So right here, this mark is 1 5/8, and I don't want you to remember that. I want you to figure it out for yourself, and I'm going to show you how. So it's not about the number. I decided that I liked this to come this far away from my center. And when I look at it, I know that I can make this fit onto these lines right here so that I can make it stitch back. So if I line it up right there, my foot will fit and it will touch the crosshair line right there. So I can stitch over to this crosshair line by doing that, right? So let's go ahead and we'll get started with that right now. And the little tick mark right there is my visual mark to line up the bottom of the template. Okay, so I just measured what could fit using my little stitching line discs, and I want to make sure that my needle will be actually in my crosshair line, right? So then I can pick up my bobbin thread and we can go from there. Oh, doggone it, I always have this trouble. I got to make sure not to use your cutting button. Otherwise, you always have to pick up that thread with this machine. It's just so tight, it won't do it. All right, let's get lined up because the ruler is going to tell us where the foot needs to go. All right, right there we go. Okay, so we'll get that bobbin thread up. And I like to stick it underneath there, so we'll get it out of our way. So I'll set my needle, my foot into position first, and then I'll snug the ruler right up to it since we know that it fits already. All right, so I'm lined up here and I'm lined up here, and I'm looking right here. I should be able to come right in to the crosshair line. At the top here, just take an extra stitch and then come down. And I'll go ahead and I'll tell you why we do that. The extra stitch, its purpose is to tack the bobbin thread right there, sort of like a locking stitch, and that'll prevent the bobbin from dragging so that you get the thread on the bottom dragged into the next stitch. So now we're at the crosshair line and we can snug the ruler right up, and we're going to line up right here and right here. And you can see we've got the perfect 1/4 inch. So I'm going to answer Jay's question. The weight of my thread is a 40 weight 3-ply polyester. It's called Fantastico, and the color is 5032 rainbow thread. This has been very popular. Whenever I use this thread, a lot of people really like it. So I wanted to make sure that I kept that information handy today. So I'm right in my crosshair right there. Keep you guys in the view field. I'll just scoot this over. I'm lining it up right there. Now, I want to talk really quickly about, I'm pretty much at the base of my ruler right here of this template. I'm at A and B on this bottom line. And that was a choice. I could start way up here. I could scoot this template down and only have this much and come into the crosshair line. I just happened to select this position so that I would be able to get a larger bit of the design. But it isn't required. You can get however much you want based on your own choice and your own alignment. Okay, so we'll keep going. I'm talking a lot, I know. So always checking right here, I can see that I've got just enough of that crosshair showing that I should be able to get the foot right back to it. So I'm right in my crosshair line right there. Get myself lined up here. And checking right here that I have enough space. I can see that I've got just the perfect amount of space there. Okay, and let me show you one more thing. I'm going to pull this off. I want to make sure that you're seeing all of the things I'm trying to explain. So let's pull this off real fast. So notice that we're skipping a line, right? This is the center position of the template. So we're crossing over. So this line is the middle and we're surrounding it. So this is the pivot and then a skip on each one. That's why I ended up making twice as many crosshair lines. It's only going to be 8 lobes, but it's going to have 16 reference lines in order to put all of those in. Okay, so we're snugged up. We've got enough space right there and we're ready. So I think I saw somebody was just asking when are they going to be available in the UK. So I can't answer that. I recommend that you contact your local shop and you ask them if they have already ordered them, and if they haven't, then ask them to order that for you, and then you can make sure that they can give you a good time estimate. For international shipping, it is much better for you to try to go through your local dealer if you can. I did try to help some people, but the cost and the tax and the duties can really add up. So it's much better for you if you try to get it from your local person. So I need that cord, Dave. I need to get plugged in. All right, so we're down to the last one right here. And I just want to show you, if, for example, this space right here was bigger than a 1/4 inch, which I don't think mine is, I think it's fine, I would hedge my bet with the position here and make sure that it's going to sew right back to where it needs to, whether it was lined up here or not. Because remember that the line is going to go away, so we don't have to worry about the line so much. We really just want to make sure our design closes prettily. So we'll just come in here. Alrighty, let's see if we can take this off. I don't want to cut my thread because we're going to do another one, something else to show you real quick. So let me show you on this one. This has a really big piece right here, and I recommend that we maybe sometimes put 2 pieces of tape. I kind of put mine at a slant, but a lot of times when I use this, this can flex back here. So I recommend either a wider piece of tape or maybe 2. And I like to fold the tape right there. You can see right on the end, I just fold the end. And that makes a convenient little pull tab. So if I need to take that off, then I can easily do that. How does the foot not hit the template? So there's a question from Mary Ann. Mary Ann, can you add a little more information? Because typically the foot doesn't hit the template. It rides against it. So if this is the template right here, the foot is traveling against the edge like that, right? So it's not going to come down on top of it. It's actually next to it. So that's why it's not going to hit like that. So hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know, and I will try to see what I can do to give you a better answer. Okay, so let's go on to our next one. So let's see, I'm going to flip it just so I can show you how I'm managing. So right now, there's a straight line right here, and of course there's a straight line right through the center of this template. And I want to put this on that center line as much as possible. So I might have to kind of adjust him a little bit. And I want him to hit right there. So once again, we can use our amazing, fantastic spacing gauge, and I want the edge flat against the template, not like this. Let's turn that so you can see. This flat edge right here needs to try to go flat against the template, not canted like that. So this is going to help me make a cute little embellishment here. Okay, and then I can put this next one, and you know, I can eyeball it, but you know, if you want that accuracy, you can go ahead and stick him in there. And the reason I'm lining up the center line, I mean, I could just stick it on there any old way, but we want the point of the oval, the tallest part of this arc, to be centered in between this petal. So that's how come I'm using the center line. So if, you know, that wasn't important to you, you can do whatever you want. All right, so we'll keep going. So has anybody tried this before? So if you've tried this, go ahead and send a note to my production manager, and I'll put your name out there. All right, so can you see how we're going? Doesn't that look cool? All right, let's just do these last couple. I'll try to do it faster. I'm talking too much. You can tell that I can't talk and sew at the same time. Alrighty, always trying to keep you guys in view, so I'll go ahead and reorient it. So get your center line, get yourself tucked right up against the foot, and then you can adjust your spacing right there. And you know, we know that fabric moves around, so it can be off just a little bit. This one's a little bigger, so I'm just going to fudge it and make it fit. Okay. Alrighty. Oh, going crazy. All right, so here's our last one. We'll get him lined up. And then I got one more little oval fun thing I'm going to show you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and also demonstrate really quickly how we can tie off, because I saw some people were asking questions. So I can vary my threads. I have a self-threading needle, and I do that sometimes. I always bring the bobbin up to the top, just like I showed you. So if I'm done stitching, another easier, faster way to tie off is with micro stitching. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a few stitches, about 5 or 6, especially with the polyester thread that's kind of slick. Now, bring up your needle and release the pressure on your presser foot. You've got to do that so you can move and the thread will come with you. Hold on to this thread. I'm going to put my needle right back down, right where I left off, so that it's right in the same thread path. And then I can pick up that bobbin thread really easy like that. So you can see now we have the bobbin thread right here. It has 2 sides. This side right here is loose. You can see that's the bobbin. This side right here is connected to the quilt. So because we're already tied off, I can just cut it right at the sandwich because we've already tacked it in. So we can literally actually cut all of these off. And you can see it's, you know, it's right on that little juncture, but it's not too bulky or anything like that. It still looks great. And let's see if we can show you the other view. So always it looks really busy, of course, on the chalky side, but there's the back, right? And we can echo this, we can put veining in here, we can do other things, and it'll look great. And this is just a fun little design that you can do. So let me show you one more thing. We're going to put something right in here really quickly, and I'll just show you how to do that. All right, let me grab my template back. Where'd it go? This one is the one I need right here. Okay, so, you know, you can see this could be good by itself, and we can put something in here. And I do have a design that I'll show you how to do in just a moment, but we'll do this outer one first. If I wanted to put another piece in here, I can use some kind of reference, like I can use this point right here, and then that'll be the base, and that'll determine how tall that this is. And that'll help you make sure that each one is the same. Or you can measure from the center, and you can decide, like if you wanted it to go further out. The key is that you can't have it so far out that you don't connect to the existing design. It can only go far enough that you can sew back in. So right here, when the foot touches, it's going to come in. So I'll just use this pin hole right there, and I'm going to make it line up with each of these marks right here, and that'll be my reference point. So I'll get the template in place first, and I'll get him lined up at the top up here and here. So he's on this line. And I want to not touch the existing design, but I want to be 1/4 inch away. So the foot is touching that stitching line right there, okay? All right, so I'm gonna set my foot right in place on the stitch line, get my needle down, and I'll hold for that first few stitches, right? So we're 1/4 inch away, so we'll sew this part. And we're gonna come down until the foot touches, right there, okay? And then wherever I want to, I can make it bigger or smaller, but I wanna make sure that I have the same spacing on this side. So right here, I need a 1/2 inch because the foot right there is a 1/2 inch. So let's get my spacing gauge. So essentially right across from this, so I'll pull this down a little bit, like that. So that gets me on the center line, and that'll get me into this foot. So this is gonna be a very narrow echo right here. It kind of peaks up here at the top, and then we'll come back down. So he's touching right there, and now we can get lined up with the next one right here, and that'll let us come back in. So we're using our same position right there with the pin, and we're lining up right there.
Does the measuring gauge come with the templates as a set?
So this spacing gauge, it does not come with the templates, but certainly you can order it with the templates. And then this strap right here is called the Notions necklace, and I love it. So it's not a bungee, but it's a quick release. And I can't tell you how many times that I have lost this guy when he's by himself, just like that, because you set him down, he disappears. So having a nice little colorful tag on there and a strap has been great to make sure that I don't lose him. And I actually have several different colors. It comes in 10 different colors, and it's very cost effective. The spacing gauge itself is only $8 for the MSRP. Very much worth it. You definitely want it. I use it so often. So I won't do much more on this outside because I kind of showed you the idea. So I'll take it off just so you can see how we went. But doesn't that look cool? I love it. I think it looks awesome. So this is how you could make the design bigger and bigger and bigger, which is so great in case you have a really large area or you just want a fun big center motif. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll tie it off right here because I'll come back and I'll finish this later on. So we'll review really quick. Needle up first, press your foot up, pull the sandwich towards you about 6 inches to lengthen this bobbin here, and then line it back up and bring your needle down in the stitch line and up. And then when you pull it, don't pull this, pull both sides. And that's how you can pick up that bobbin thread. Since we're tied off, I'll just cut it, which is great because now we have a nice long bobbin on the bottom and we'll be able to pick him up easy. Okay, so let's move on. So we're gonna try a new template this time. Let me cut these threads. We don't want these guys in our way either, so we'll cut them. Okay, so the next template that we're gonna play with is this one. Now, these lines right here, this is 90 degrees if I go from this line to this line to this line to this line. This line is in the middle, which makes this a 45-degree angle. So how did you, let's see, Mary, let me try to answer your questions. How did you, what? Can you read what Mary Sterling says?
What did you use to mark your lines and how is it removed?
Okay, Miss Mary, you are late. I did say that at the beginning. This is the Fons and Porter ceramic chalk pencil, right? And And it comes off pretty easy. And then I also have a little dry toothbrush, a clean dry toothbrush. And if the chalk, you know, has trouble coming off, you can use that, or you can use a gum eraser, works really good to get it off, like a white gum eraser, like this. I use this too. Works awesome. That's also my high-tech pin management system. Pretty awesome, huh? Super, super pricey. No, just kidding. Okay, let's get back to this oval. So we just talked about how these lines on here are each at 45 degrees. So let me show you, if I want to put this little asteroid in here, I'm going to line up the template first on the 90 degrees, so he'll be right in the middle. So he's lined up here, and then this way he's lined up on those lines. Line him up first, and then figure out where you're going to put your foot, you know, once he's in place. And I want you to line up on one of these lines right here, the 45 degrees. So you're going to start sewing with your needle lined up at that 45 degree. Okay, so once again, we'll get that bobbin thread up and we'll get our foot right in place. And I really want to check and make sure that I'm on these chalk marks really well, because you'll see in a minute that's going to be kind of important. All right, so needle down. All right, so let's sew this one. Such a pretty shape. I love this oval. It's gorgeous. So the relationship on the oval, it's 3 inches tall and it's 1.5 inches wide. So I'm just going to hold these, make sure I can tack and close that oval. So I put a few stitches right there. At this 45 degree angle, I can rotate this now, and I can line him up exactly this other direction. And I can sew the next oval. I call this the little asteroid because it reminds me of George Jetson. So we'll tack it right there. So we need a couple stitches. And then needle up. And we'll kind of get this out of here too. We'll scoot him over. So get myself lined right back up where I left off, and I'll bring up that bobbin thread. All right, and we can cut everybody since we're all tacked in. So we don't need any of these threads. We can just chop them off. All right. So doesn't that look cool? I love it. And that was a way that you could make this design continuous. So that's what the information about the 45 degree relationship is. If you want to add more, you can use those same relationships, and you can, you know, come over here and maybe put it this way if you wanted to have more of these. So this is a really great way to put a fun bit of design in there, and then you could even put maybe a circle in there and do some micro stitching in there to create a lot of lift. And because now we have this scallop, we could make all of this punch down, which will make this center part really lift up and give a lot of extra texture to the design. Okay?
So Gary asked, would you do mostly quilting as you go with the template?
So Gary, I don't. I do everything. I do quilt as you go. I do demonstration pieces. I do full-size quilts. I think that to answer that more specifically, a lot of it depends on how large your throat of your machine is. So let me show you mine really fast. So this is my throat. This is huge. Okay, I got a lot of room. If you have a long arm, you're gonna have a lot of room. If you have, you know, a small machine that has maybe a 5 or 6 inch throat, maybe quilt as you go is more fun and easier. Quilting should be fun, and I think sometimes when we have a really big quilt that's really heavy, it doesn't matter if you have templates or not, it's still hard. Templates aren't going to fix a small throat or a heavy quilt. They're not going to make it lighter, and they're not going to make it easier. But they make the lines prettier. They make you able to make the lines clean and precise and even and things like that. And so that's what they do for you. So let's see, I see another question. Let me add that. Why do some of the crosshair rulers have the small black border and some do not? Okay, so Betty is asking, let me show you the Blackboard Maker. Yeah,
Black and not-
perfect. Okay, look. So this crosshair is like the first crosshair I bought ever. I've had it maybe 6 years, a long time. And this frame was a stiffener that they actually put on it to help make it more rigid so that it wouldn't be as broken as easily. And it's great. I mean, I don't mind it. I just use the edge, and I know that that's a 1/4 inch, but it has some visibility issues, but it works perfectly fine. The key is, if you're using one like this, you want to make sure that the lip right here is face up, okay? Because if you don't, then your pen or your marking tool has to go through the lip and the slot, right? So you never want to use it like this, okay? This one is the newer version. It's thicker. The actual space right there is thicker. And I like that it's clear all the way to the edge, because then there's no obstruction of your view. It doesn't matter, you know, one or the other. This is what you'll see a lot of times, but both of them work great. They're totally fantastic. It's just that they have just a different look. And I think some of the ones that we made for vendors, like for Janome or for Baby Lock or for different, you know, companies, those don't have the lip. They kind of look like this. But they all work great. They just work fine. All right, so let's move on. So this one that we just did, this is the 8-point crosshair with 16 reference lines. Okay, so I've got some little smaller spaces, and I've got some more ideas that I wanted to share. So let me grab the tools that we'll need. So I marked them down here just to make sure I could remember. So we'll start right here with this 2-inch circle, and that's just a regular circle. So this is not, listen to me, not in the Fun and Fancy collection. This is from the sampler set, right? Which is our beginning 6-piece sampler set that we've had for a really long time. I wanted to integrate some of the sampler set pieces because I know a lot of people have those. So this could be a fun way to use my tools that I've set up in the Fun and Fancy collection, and then also integrate with tools that you already have. All right, so right here, you're just gonna go ahead and make your circle, and we'll pick up the bobbin thread. And then scoot that right up next to the template. All right, so here we go. And I want to stop on one of these crosshair markings right there. Make sure that you stop on the markings. So here, let's get you in maybe a little closer. Oh, I don't know what happened. Hi, let me flip it. I touched the wrong button. I was trying to make it a little bit better view for you guys. Okay, so that's just the circle. So we'll just take him off. We don't want to cut our threads or anything. So we'll just take him off. And so this is the inner part of the oval. So let me show you that. So they used to just give you this, and now they're giving you this part too. Love it. Love it. It's like 2 in 1. They're different sizes because one is inside, a 1/4 inch on the outer edge, and then this one is a 1/4 inch on the inside. So they do make different sizes. So I want to show you what we'll do here. So we can, oh, let's see, we got to use the other one. Sorry, I think I'm using the wrong one. This was set up for the outside. Okay, here we go. Let's put this on. Did I flip it around? There we go. Goes this way. Make sure that your tape is really secure, and then when you're doing that, if you've taken the tape off, run your finger right here and make sure that this piece is seated cleanly, because sometimes he can jut just a little bit out if the tape isn't seated just right, you know. So just like lift that up, make sure that you've got this nice clean edge right here, because the foot is going to go past that, and if it's not nice and clean, it might go bump, bump as it goes along. So, all right, so we're going to line up the center line. That's what we're going to use right here to get us lined up, and we're going to pull this down so that the top of this is at my little tick mark right there. And I think that's 2.5 from the center. You can make it whatever you want. It's up to you, right? So we've finished the circle. And now we want to come up to this crosshair. So let's go ahead and just hop up so that we're on the crosshair line. And this is like our little jump stitch, right? So we don't have to reset anything. So stop right in your crosshair line. Line up. And you should be able to touch the foot and have yourself lined up at the same tick mark. Traveling crosshair line to crosshair line, little adjustments are fine. It won't matter. Nobody will see that. But in general, you should be able to fit. So when we get to this crosshair line and we line up right on that tick mark, we should be able to get lined up pretty easily right on all of the lines. So there's our little tick mark right at the top, and we're going to stitch over to the next crosshair line. All right, so let's get lined up. And the reason that I chose the particular size here that I did is this will fit right inside of this space, so it's kind of maximizing the space as much as possible. But you can make it shorter, you can even make it taller if you want to. If you had more space, you could make this oval come out. So the width right here, the widest part of this oval is 1.5. So the space that it can bridge and go crosshair line to crosshair line is 1.5 inches, because that's the widest that this is this direction. If you wanted to go this way, you can go up to 3, but this is going to be much shallower. Okay, so I like it, you know, with that depth. So we'll line it up right on the tick mark right there, right on that center line back there, and we'll go crosshair to crosshair. I like this one because he kind of looks like a really fun flower. So remember here that we want to make sure that we get back to our 1/4 inch space. So this would be a good place to use your spacing gauge. So we'll get him lined up first, and then we'll check the space. So it looks like I need to come in just slightly so that he'll hit right where I want him to. Okay, so let's pull this off so you can see what we got. So, and let's go ahead, we'll tack him and cut him as well so we can get off of there.
Marilyn asked what kind of tape that is.
It's just Scotch tape. Just regular Scotch tape, nothing fancy. I would recommend, you know, don't use an expensive tape. As long as the tape will come off easily and not leave a residue, that's really the biggest thing. So, where did I put my scissors? I got it. Thanks, baby. All right. So, we've secured this because we stitched over it, so we can cut those because they're already tacked off. And when we started here, we tacked that, so that's just a jump stitch that we can just cut. And then there'll be a little thread on the back, but we'll be able to just trim that off. So isn't that fun? That looks so awesome. And having those little tick marks is important because that helps keep the lobes the same size. So, you know, sometimes if you're going just crosshair to crosshair, but you don't have a tick mark or you don't have an alignment mark, what you can end up with is maybe one of the lobes will be a little bigger than the other ones. And sometimes that doesn't matter, but you know. So Gary, is there anything that keeps the template from slipping? Yes. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about that. So here's my best tip on that for you guys. I'll put these up here. This is stable tape. These are pre-cut. These are a little small. I like them about 1/2 inch, but these were like the ends of a piece that I had, the last little bits of the piece. So let me grab one of my templates real quick. So our templates, you can see that this is the back right here, because you see how the words are upside down. So this is the front, right? these lines here are etched in on the back of the template. So if I use them this way, I don't know if we'll be able to get you in to see. Let's see if we can use a simpler template that might show better. Okay. So if I have the lines on the top, these are the lines. This is upside down. The grips are on the top as well. If I use it where the lines are on the top and the light is shining down on the template, you're going to get a slight shadow for every one of these lines, which makes it sometimes very difficult to line up if you're trying to use the lines to line up, right? So I like to put the grips on this back side, and it's really important to have the grips where you're going to hold. So a lot of times I hold this template like this. The grips on this were on for quite a long time, but I think I'd actually put them closer to the edge. I actually like to hold this one like that with one finger. This little guy is called the speed bump detector, right? So if the template moves, this guy's on the fabric. These guys may not feel it because the ruler is not moving. Their fingers are not moving against the ruler. But this guy back here, he's feeling if the fabric is shifting around, right? So what I like to do is I'm going to put the grips right where I want to use them. I would put them right under my fingertips like that, you know. So when you get your rulers, when the first time when you open the package and you're playing with them, I want you to get a scrap of fabric and I want you to play with them before you put your grips on. Decide what feels comfortable, what feels sturdy, what is not hard on your hands, what's a good position, and then I want you to put the grips right underneath where your pressure points are. Because I have this ruler, right? And if I just stick it on here and I hold it down here, look, nothing. It doesn't do anything. But if I hold it right there, it's going to hold much, much better if you're actually compressing on it. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm holding and it's still moving. That doesn't work. Hold it where the grips are. Okay. All right. So hopefully that answered that question. And let's see where we are. So we've got these cute little flowers. So let's do one more. So this time we're going to use our back-to-back template. And let me show you how we're going to use it. So I've got two different sets of lines here. This one is, I don't remember what the measurements are, but it doesn't matter. You just decide for yourself. And then I'll show you how I just chose it. This is the center. And I just said, okay, I'm going to line this one up right there like that. That's totally random. I could line it up here. I could line it up here. I'm going to travel from crosshair line to crosshair line. This one allows me to have a deeper curvature. If I'm down here, I only get this much. So you can decide what you want to do. It's totally up to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll get lined up. And the key here is like if this is the edge right here, it's going to sew a 1/4 inch beyond that. So it's not going to be outside of the block. It's just going to be a little bit above that. So, you know, I wouldn't make it so that you set the template right there because then you're outside of your boundary. All right, so let's get set up. I'm lining up this center line and I'm going to put the tick mark that is furthest away. And then I'll start on the crosshair line over here, because I'm sewing across the crosshair line like that. So I've got to start actually in a crosshair line in order to start the design. All right. So, and if you guys have any questions as we go, keep relaying those because my super helper is right here. Now here, I want to hold up here, not back here. If I hold back here, look at what's going to happen to the template. I don't know if you can see that, but I can like stick my finger under there. Always pressing down where the foot is going to be positioned. So don't be holding back here. Get your fingers up right in this area. Okay. Since we're centering him, the foot should be able to touch right where the crosshair line is, because we're sewing crosshair line to crosshair line. He should be able to be aligned right on this center line here. And then when we get to the next crosshair line, he should be able to fit just perfect. Okay, so right there, stop on the crosshair line, not in the hook, but on the crosshair line right there. Do I have grip tape on both sides of the ruler? The answer is yes. And the reason for that with this template is designed to be able to be flipped. So it can easily be used on both sides. So I definitely put grips on both sides of this one because sometimes, just depending on what the design is, it might be easier to use it on one side or the other. And that's very common with the back-to-back templates, so you would definitely want to do that. So here's my center line right there, my tick mark. Make sure that the ruler is touching the foot when you begin. So make sure that that's clean. Even if he's not in the hook, make sure the ruler is touching. That's what's important. Okay, and we can just keep going, get him lined up, and make sure he's touching. There we go. This one looks like he's a little wonky. Maybe I marked him poorly. That's okay, we're gonna fudge it. Fudging is good. Remember that the lines don't go home with you, they come out. So as long as the design connects, you're good to go. Now, we're at the very last part, right here. Notice that that maybe looks a little bigger than 1/4 inch. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna fudge, just like we said. It's more important that the design closes than it is, well, I guess that's pretty good actually. He fits perfect. All right. All right. So let me show you, got kind of like a little flower shape. And one of the things that's great about this template is I could hop over and I could make successive lines with this. Like I could just move over 1 foot or whatever I wanted. Let's tack it real quick and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so same thing, we'll do our little jump stitch technique. We can just move this and we can move it wherever we want. We can even move it to this other position right here. And then we can start a whole new grouping and just center this right here. And then that'll give us this little echo right here. All right, do the grips help move the fabric? Yes, they absolutely do. The grips not only prevent the ruler from moving, but one of their most important features is that they make the fabric move. It's like having those gloves on. This grip is like a glove. It's making the fabric move with the ruler and keeping them together. So it gives you a little bit of extra tack so that everybody will move together. And then we can just keep going. So here you can see this is that 1/2 inch right there. I think one of mine was off, but I'm okay with it. Let's get this, I'm gonna cut that real quick so he's not in our way. That was our jump stitch. So Sheila, this is the Fun and Fancy collection. So the ruler I'm using right now is called the Back-to-Back 3-2. So let me show you. The 3 is that this shape from this center line right here, this is the split transition. So there's a C on this side, and when you get over to this side, it starts going this way. This is the bottom of the C. So this is 3 inches for the top curve and then 3 inches for the bottom. So the total distance of this template right here is 6 inches on both sides. So each of these spaces, this is 1.5 from this line to this line and 1.5, and then this is the middle of the curve right there. And then it's deeper on one side and shallower on the other side. So this one has a 2 inch from the top of the curve to the bottom here. It's a 2 inch differential. And on this side, from the top to the bottom of the curve is 1.5. So there's 2 different sides, different depths that are part of this template. So there you can see my little echo, and you could just keep filling those in, or you could do something else in the center. This one is the 5-point crosshair, and you can see that there's not as many lines as there were for some of the other ones that we did. Oh, excuse me. Let me take a drink. I'm going to answer a question while I take a drink, so put your question in. Okay, so the Fun and Fancy collection, it's a 5-piece template set, and it has my very first book. It's called The Path to Rulerwork Design, and it has over 100 different designs. There's 32 base designs in the Fun and Fancy book, and then there's variations of the design on every page, and I know there's more than 100 overall. In addition, there is about almost 13 hours of video education that is available on the Sew Steady University. I've also made the Fun and Fancy sampler quilt, which I have posted the links for both of those items up in the post today. So if you want more information about the Fun and Fancy collection, you can click on either of those links and watch the launch videos, as well as get product information about them. So let's go ahead and I'm going to tack this off. So these are what I would call motif style designs, both of these, all of these. But the point of today's lesson is to show that you don't have to use the template in what I would consider to be this very regimented, restrictive way. You are the designer, you are creative, I know that you are, or you wouldn't be here, and you can use any part of a template, a little piece, a full piece. You can use this side, you can use this little piece right here, and then you can create whatever you want in order to make the design your own. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you this spacing that I've created right here. So these little boxes are 3 inches, and they're designed right now to be used with this template. And I think we need to kind of give you a wider view. So let's see if we can just pull you back a little so you can get a little bit more of the view. So Trish, are you asking about my batting? So if you are, can you put a note in there? Well, here, I'll just tell you what my batting is. This batting right here, this is wool blend. I think it's Pellon, made by Pellon. It's 100% wool blend. What does that mean? It means it's like all kinds of different scrap wools that are knitted together, needled together. So it's not necessarily, merino wool or whatever. It's mixed, right? And then this is the cotton, and that's just a warm, thin cotton, a really thin cotton. I'm using 2 layers because I like the puff, and I also like with a variegated thread that if you use 2 layers, it's a lot easier to hide the stitch knot on the back, right? So that you don't have extra color coming through, because now there's 2 layers of batting, that knot has a lot of room to hide. So that makes for a much better stitched look if you're doing variegated threads.
Linda asked, how do you pick what color thread you use on multiple colored threads?
Oh, Linda, so thank you. I knew you were gonna, I remember we talked about that. Okay, so let me show you how I pick. Let me grab, can you grab like any scrappy fabric over there that's got like different colors on it? I think there's, yeah, okay, perfect. That'll work. There we go. Okay, so let's use this really quickly. So Mariah Millard, I'm going to tell you, you said that it looks easy, but your thread keeps breaking. So on FabriKated Quilts, I have a troubleshooting video, and I go through a lot of different things that can cause your thread to break. So that's not really a simple answer that I can just wave my wand and magically fix your situation. You have to try a few different things. So if you would like that, I will look for your name and I will post that. Or you can go to FabriKated Quilts and just type a message that says, hey, where's your troubleshooting video? And then anybody that wants that information, I'll tag them so that they can find it easily. Okay, so I got a bunch of different threads here. I'll just like, whoa, there's a million different colors, lots of them. Linda Martindale. What I do is I take some thread, like a little, I call it the little messy nest right there. And for this particular square, this looks fine, because I will tell you that this particular piece has a million seams. I don't want some thread that's going to show. So this pink kind of floats into the background. It's a nice color on the purple. It's fine on the yellow. There's enough color on the dark ones that it'll be fine. It kind of reads purple too. This thread would be perfect for stitching this out. So bundle up your thread, especially if you have any kind of variegated thread, or if you have a quilt that, say, it has 10 different colors. So like here's an example. I'll put another one up here. Barb, thanks for coming. I'm glad you'll catch up later. Have a great day. All right, so let's put this one on. So if I wanted, you know, to put some threads on here, if I put some red here, I pretty much know that that red thread is going to just take over. Red has a way of just taking over everything. So when I'm using red, I would want to make sure that I know that that's what I want to see. I want to see that red thread. Here, I want that piecing to show because the piecing is pretty unique and fun. So the thread here, this light blue, it shows the quilting, but it doesn't overwhelm the piecing. So again, I would take some of that thread and I kind of put it like this, especially if you have different colors. Take your little spooling group like this. You can even just cut a piece off. And then pick up your little nest like this and put it on each color. And say, can I live with that on the white? Can I live with that on the navy? Can I live with it on that? And if there is a specific color that you don't like, you can either choose a different thread that will work on everything, or you can say, okay, when I get to the red, maybe I'll change thread colors for that area. And then that way you can preview, will those colors work for you? So that's what I do. I usually take, you know, a good little bit, and I'll probably have 4 or 5 different ones, and then I put them out onto the quilt. And if you have scraps, you can even make your own little test basin, you know, with your batting that you're going to use. Put some strips of every color of fabric, and then actually go ahead and quilt on those with the color of your chosen thread and see if they all work. And that's a pretty easy way. Otherwise, you can just use a really neutral thread, like yellow tends to blend. A really pale yellow blends really well with anything that's kind of warm. And then, you know, a light blue tends to go really well with anything that's cool. So those are easy way. So is all my thread 50 weight? Okay, let's answer that. This right here is 12 weight, only suitable for the bobbin. This thread is 30 weight rayon. Love it. It's awesome, but rayon is a little bit weak. So I use that for design emphasis, but if I want the quilt to be like holding together, or if I'm stitching a baby quilt or something like that, I'm not going to use rayon. It's not as durable. Polyester is your most durable thread. This thread right here, hard to break it, super durable, super easy care. The dye lot doesn't fade. This is Isacord, and there's Floriani or Magnifico are all very similar. They're 40 weight, 3-ply trilobal polyester. This is bomb. If you guys are having trouble with thread breakage, here's my #1 tip for you. Try a thread like this. 40 weight 3-ply polyester with a 90 needle. A 90 top stitch needle or quilting needle. You're going to have more success because this thread, it's like training wheels for starting. You know, it just is very trouble free and it's very lint free. So I recommend that. Here's another thread that I like. Okay, I love to do micro quilting with 100 weight silk or with Invisifil 100 weight right here. These two threads, they kind of just sink in. They really allow you to have multiple layers of thread without getting all bulky. And so you can do a lot of detail, fine detail work with these, and they really, really shine in that area. Okay, so it looks like we have a question.
Got a bunch of, so in the Fun and Fancy Tabletopper class, is there a separate video for the free motion designs?
Oh, I'm in trouble, you guys. So here's what happened on that. I'll even share the thread with you. I ran out, and I can prove it because this is the thread. I didn't have enough to finish the video, and I just got the replacement spool. So I will be adding that, and I will send an email out to all of the students on that class as soon as the free motion piece is added. It should be added very soon. So thank you for your patience.
Okay. Pamela asks, how much pressure are you putting on the templates? And it's related to your next question, I think. Is there a trick on how long you can use templates and not get back pain?
Okay, so let's answer that. That is a really, really important and powerful question. Okay, so I teach a lot and I've traveled a lot and seen how a lot of people sew. And here's the number one thing that I see when people get tired. If this is my ruler and this is my hand, like this. See this? In fact, we'll try to go out just a little bit more so you can have a little bit wider angle. If you're pressing down really hard, like this, okay, think about it this way. You are having an anvil on top of your quilt, right? The ruler should not move, but the quilt has to move. So if I am pushing down so hard with my hand, how can the quilt move around, right? So you cannot press down so hard. In addition, if I have this against my foot and I push this into my foot really, really hard, I have seen people so hard that they end up pushing their needle or their foot support bar over. Okay? We can hear Patrick. So can you what? What is she saying? I can't see it. Is Linda?
I'm not that far. I was still way back.
Oh, okay. Well, so anyway, just to clarify, pressure, you need to have firm pressure, but you should not be gripping for dear life, either pushing down or pushing in. That's why I think that having your little bumper finger out here can help you, because that's going to help you detect if there's any movement. So you should be able to move pretty freely. And then if you have a larger quilt where the edges are hanging off, sit in really, really close. So like if this is my body and this is the edge of my table right here, okay, so you're really close to it. You're going to scoot your body in as close as you can so that there's no gap between your sewing machine table and your body, and bolster the quilt up in front of you. So like maybe put a pillow in your lap or something like that so that the quilt doesn't hang over the edge, and that'll help alleviate some of the weight where it kind of gets stuck as you're pushing. And then out here on the edges, make sure that you're pulling the quilt all the way, you know, on top of your Sew Steady table, and maybe packaging it a little so that it can move more easily.
Okay, so they can't hear my questions, you just got to repeat it. But Barbara asked, is that ruler included with the kit? And I think she's talking about the back-to-back that you were just using.
So this is included with the Fun and Fancy set. So let me...
What is this?
Okay, can you grab the package again that you had? So I'm going to put the rulers up one more time. So it's just sort of a collection of my favorite. I'm just going to pull this package out because I think that'll help you to see everything really, really easily. All right, so here it is. So you've got, this is Spinifex number 8. So let me show it in real life. This is Spinifex number 8 right there. Okay. So he sews out at 5.5, so this will fit very well into a 6-inch block. Then this is the back-to-back 3-2, and it has a 6-inch from side to side. And let's see on here, so this is kind of the design right here for this back-to-back right there. So this is the main one we use today. This is the Circles on Quilts spinning wheel number 21, and that's this shape right here, that one. I love it. It's big. It sews out at 7.5, so it will fit really easily into an 8-inch block. And then this is my between the lines 1 inch. So that's just a circle, but a very useful circle with a lot of great reference markings. And you can see right here, so if you have lines, one of the benefits between the lines is you can sew the circles in a straight line with no marking. But it can do many other things beyond that, but that is just kind of what the markings are designed for. And then of course we used our oval today a lot, and the oval that's in our Fun and Fancy collection is the 3-inch by 1.5. So it's tall and 1.5 inch wide right across the middle. And there's just many, many different designs that you can do with that. So, and they're work with Fun and Fancy, which is my book. And I'll just show you the cover. But like I said, there's product information that's available. And then this Fun and Fancy topper, this quilt piece right here, the instructions for constructing it and for quilting it are free with the purchase of a bundle, with the bundle. It's on the Sew Steady University, and that's the class that somebody was asking, am I going to show the free motion stuff? And the answer is yes. So let's go ahead and we'll move on. We'll do one more design that I've got set up for you guys. So we've done some of the motifs, and I just wanted to let you see maybe a different style. So that's what these markings here are for. So let's see if we can get you back out so you can see a little better. Oh, so somebody was just commenting that from the demo, yeah, if your hands are tired, you might be holding too tight. And if your arm is up, I usually come over to the students and I go like this. Oh, just relax, put that down. Because if you're up like that, you know, you're trying to generate that downward pressure, but you should be able to have enough pressure this way. One other thing that I will comment on that is if you're down like this, like if you're below your machine so that your hands are like T-Rex hands, that is not sufficient because I can't put any downward pressure like that. I need to be up above so that my hands are over my table pushing down. So if you're down below your table, then you need a booster or a different chair.
Several people asked, is that embroidery thread or sewing thread?
Okay, so somebody's asking, is that sewing thread or embroidery thread? And I'm going to tell you, if I'm sewing with it, does that make it not sewing thread? I will use whatever thread I want to use if it works for what I want to do. So yes, that's embroidery thread. Can I embroider with it? Yes. Can I embroider with cotton? I can. It might be more or less successful, but all of those threads are sewing thread. This isocord, lots of people use it for embroidery because it's shiny and it's strong and it's pretty, and I quilt with it all the time. It's amazing on my long arm, and it works great in any domestic sewing machine. So you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't say isocord embroidery thread, it just says isocord. So to me, that's just thread. I'm going to sew with it and I'm going to quilt with it. And don't limit yourself. You don't need a label to say I'm going to use this or not. If the thread is pretty and you like it, then you should try it. And if it works well, try it some more. Buy a few more colors. If it doesn't work well, say, okay, forget it. I hate that thread. I'm not going to use it anymore. Okay, so let's talk about the spacing on this design. So we talked about how this is the 3 inches for the curve. So I can use it on either side, but remember we talked about the lines. So here would be an example of I could use it this way, right? Or I could use it this way. Now, what I want size-wise is I want the foot to sink right in, because if this is 3 inches, then I should be able to sew right from each of these markings, because this is perfectly measured for these guys to fit. So I've got this first reference line lined up. I could move him up. You know, I could do whatever I needed to do to make him fit. So we'll go ahead and we'll just make him fit. If you ever need to adjust this template, say I want the foot to end in a certain place, you can adjust right at the top. Just scoot him over so that this center line and this edge line now are lined up. For some reason, that first one seemed like he was a little short, so in order to make him fit, I had to adjust him. Okay, so there's the hook. So then I'll just scoot over, and now he's lined up. So this line right here is lined right up with the marked line, and I'm on this first etched line right there. So he's going to sew at exactly that 3-inch spacing right there. All right, so let's get lined up. And so this one, maybe he's a little big, so I'm just going to push him in a little so he'll fit right on that line. Why are these lines important? I could just sew this without these reference lines, but in just a minute you're going to see why the lines are important. They're going to help us make sure that the lines on the other side of the design are going to fit together so that we have a very symmetrical look. If I was just doing this on one side and it wasn't going to match up to anything, then I wouldn't even care. about having any reference lines because it wouldn't matter. But since we're going to make the other side match, then it does matter. So this is a border style. The border size is 2.5 inches wide right here. I could make it narrower. I could make these overlap, but we're not going to today. That would just be a different design that we would choose if we were going to do that. Okay, now the spacing on here was a little bit wider. Let me flip it so I can show you what I'm talking about. So right here, this was actually bigger than 18. So this marked line right here, I'm just going to sew over to this side. So let me get a straight edge so we can do that. Okay, so now we're going to do the same curves on this side, and that's going to create a little space right in here that's kind of fun. So same thing, you're just using the one side and you're going to get this line lined up right here. And that's important because we want the curves to come in with this hourglass right at the same spot. So we're going to kind of massage this to make sure that this is lined up just right. So I've done this before, and sometimes if they're off, then they just look really wonky. So that's why all these marks can be really super helpful and really practical. All right, here we go. So you can see that this would quilt up really fast. This would be great for a 3-inch border. So let's stitch one more stitch right there. And then I'll smush this a little to make sure that I'm lined up. All right, and one more. So measure carefully, fabric moves around. You can tell because this is finely lined up. I had to push him to kind of put a little bit more fullness, but it'll all quilt out. So don't worry about that, it'll all fit in there. And this would be the last one, and that'll get us right back to the end. So I'm going to turn it around so you guys can see. So I love that, and if you're a free motioner, then this would be a fun place to put some kind of like wavy hourglassy thing right in here to fill this in, which will make these puff. In addition, one of the really cool features of this is you get 2 different sizes. So the one that we did was this wide size. Well, now we could take this and we could put this narrower size on there, and we could do a double swag if you wanted to do that. And that would all be continuous, and that would be a really pretty look for a border. So you can see just by doing that, you can get this cute little swag. So that'll double that up and kind of create a little bit more of a fancy detail into those spaces if you doubled it up like that. So, all right, so that's a fill that you can use, and that, you know, has, like I said, the fun opportunity to put either, you know, a little bit more fill in there, and then this would basically be your seam right here. So if you're gonna do something like this, I really recommend putting some reference marks in there to make sure then that you can have the look where this little diamond part of this will match up. And you can make this narrower if you made this space, say maybe like 1.5 or 2 or something like that. You could make it where these cross over, and you would get that little oval in the middle where these overlap, and then these would become diamonds right here because they would be connected. Yeah, so I'm going to answer Frances Barrett. She commented that she has challenges with borders because it's often a print fabric or very difficult to mark. And that's true, and I will tell you that when I first, you know, was free motioning and things like that, that I often would choose a printed fabric for the border, and sometimes still do. But the better that I'm getting, at quilting, the more I want the quilting to show, and the more likely I am to choose a solid on a border. So that's an option as you get better. Let me show you a couple different marking options that might be helpful. I do recommend having an array of colors so that you can work with some different things to see what works for you. So obviously the white worked really, really well on this black, and this purple air erase probably would not work at all on here. You probably wouldn't be able to see anything. Maybe barely can't see it. Okay, so you're going to try to have a little selection of things that will work well with you. I love this chalk right here. This is Bohemian chalk pencil. Let me show you. It's pretty fat. If I don't need a really accurate line, and I don't mind a little fine, a little fat mark, I love this chalk, and it erases so easily, Look at that. So I really like this one, but he's not as accurate as this one. This one is going to give you a much finer point, a much more accurate look, and this is the Fons and Porter, so Bohemian. This is air erase. This pen is made by Collins. Let me show you. I think I have one in the package. Well, Dritz makes one too, so this is Dritz. It's very similar. This one is Collins, but these are pretty commonly available for you. This is Clover Choco Liner. It is pink because it used to have pink powder in it, and the pink, I had trouble getting it off of something, so I put Pounce powder in there with a little funnel, little paper funnel. And this is a dressmaker wheel, and this particular tool is really great when you're using the crosshair squares. It makes a really accurate mark, and because it's just fat enough that this can fit right in the slot, this is very, very accurate. So I do like all of these. I don't use friction pens, but you know, whatever, you should use what you want to use. And I don't usually use the blue markers either, which, I mean, I don't have anything against them, but I don't want to get things wet, so to get them out, so I don't usually use those. Okay, so let me check really quick and see if there's any questions. Okay, Linda Linenfeltzer. What stitch length and any settings can help me? So the troubleshooting video that I have, that I will offer out the link for, if you want to go to FabriKated Quilts and just, you know, type in some message to me, hey, I want the troubleshooting video, then I will try to tag all the people that said that. I'll go through all the feed after this, and anybody that wants to see the troubleshooting video, I'll tag them in that video so that they can see it, or I'll try to put the links, you know, available for you. If you're free motioning and your feed dogs are down, your stitch length doesn't matter. Okay, let's do this really quickly. We'll just do this out here in the margin. Okay, my stitch length right now, let's see if it's set on anything. Oh, it isn't, because it is free motion. We'll just sew. Okay, right now I am controlling my stitch length completely. If I go fast, my stitches will be big. That means that I am moving at a speed that doesn't allow enough stitches to happen. So if your stitches look like that, so let's get you in a little closer so you can see. We'll get you a nice good view. Right? See how big they are? They're huge, right? So if they're like that, if they look really, really big, then you have to speed up your machine. I recommend that people don't change their body the way that they sew. Most people have sewn enough that they know how fast they want to go. So you want to try to change the machine, so make the machine go faster. Now if I go fast, see how my stitch length changes and now it looks better? And that's just speed differential, right? You could still sew slowly, but if you sew slow, this is what happens to a lot of people. Then the stitches get really, really tight. So you can change the speed control on your machine to adjust how your stitches look. Try making it go faster, making it go slower. And then if you do that, the key thing is, if you make any adjustments with speed, You have to make sure that once you do that, you must press the gas on your machine all the way. Otherwise, you're not actually letting the machine control for speed. So let's see. Thank you guys. I like to see, okay, so heat erasable pens. I don't use friction pens, but you can if you want to, Fran. It's up to you. All right, you guys, so 1 minute. If you have any questions, I'll let you put them up. And I'm gonna say this real quick before we sign off. If you could, and you're interested in the Fun and Fancy Sampler Quilt, which we released last week, which is a quilt pattern, then if you would like to like, comment, and share on this video, then I will have my Sew Steady help pick a winner to send that pattern out as a thank you for your participation and being here on a Sunday. So can you grab the blue book that's in there? So we'll share that real quick. All right, so I'm just going to go through my list real quick and see if there's any other comments. Okay. All right, so this is the Fun and Fancy Quilt Sampler. And let's see if we can go back out a little bit so you can see it better. There, sometimes it's really hard because we're too close when we're sewing. All righty. So just to clarify, this is a quilt pattern, and it is using the Westalee cutting system to cut it, as we shared last week. And I'll show you one page. Ready? So look at, see, nice clear directions, step by step, pretty, and really, really easy. Lots of great tips. So there's also a video available for that online. So if you are interested in that, you can go to Sew Steady University and sign up for that class, and you can get a digital copy of this there as well if you didn't want the printed copy. All right, so thanks. I'll be checking the feed afterwards. So if you still have any comments or questions, you can add them in. I do check everything myself after we sign off, and I hope you had a great day. Remember that you can use the templates you have at home, and you can use the crosshair techniques that we did today, and you can make your own designs. So have a great time. Go and grab all your tools and grab your crosshair squares and play. Have a great weekend.